Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the GM. I'm your guy, Boulanger, and we are up to trade number 4. This is the final trade, at least in this series of trades for Lamar Jackson. And I'm going to give you a couple of little clues about this team. This team, I've seen them mentioned, but not a whole lot. I think it was kind of far-fetched when they first mentioned this team, but the more and more I thought about it, this team actually is probably the most fire trade of all trades. This trade may be even better than the Houston Texans trade because I have something in store that no other team has and may be willing to part ways with. Okay. This team is an NFC team. This team is in need of a quarterback like many teams over in the NFC. This team is in rebuild mode, and this team uh, has played hard, but because of poor quarterback play, they have not won a whole lot of games. And so I think that this team would be willing to go all in for Lamar Jackson. So let me let me pull up my share screen and get you guys over there and let's see who this team is. This team is the Carolina Panthers. I have Lamar Jackson going to the Carolina Panthers. Now, before you guys scream at me again and say, Leon, you said you love Lamar. I do. But let me show you the trade and then let me tell you why I have him going to the Carolina Panthers and why the Carolina Panthers make the most sense out of any team I've projected. All right, let's go. All right, first off, let's look at the cap space. So Carolina doesn't have a lot of cap space in 2023. But in 2024, their cap space balloons to 144 million. And in 2025, their cap space goes all the way up to 218 million. So all that would need to be done to fit Lamar under the cap would be some cap gymnastics. Uh, they're certainly going to release some players because they don't have enough money right now to sign all of their draft picks. But he would certainly fit under the 2024 cap very easily and the 2025 cap space and the 2026 cap space. And just like always, we know that that these cap numbers don't reflect re-signing free agents. It don't reflect bringing free agents in, and it does not reflect um, who could be cut and released and so on and so forth. And then again, we see the Baltimore Ravens cap space 24 million, 86 million, and 145 million. All right. And so let's look at the Carolina Panthers draft capital. As you see, the Carolina Panthers have a litany of draft picks. And part of this is because they traded Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers, and they picked up several picks from that trade. So let's take a look at their draft capital. So they have the number 9th overall pick in this draft. They have the number 39th draft pick in the second round, and then they also have another second round pick, excuse me, number 61 coming from the San Francisco 49ers. Um, they have a third round pick. They have two fourth round picks, a fifth and a seventh. And so the Carolina Panthers have a lot to offer Baltimore in draft capital, just right there in those first 3 or 4 rounds. But now let's look at the trade. Now be very careful, pay close attention. Okay, so the Carolina Panthers would receive Lamar Jackson and a 2024 um, pick, and um, I think I made a mistake and didn't put what kind of pick. So probably a 4-4-5 pick would be coming back with Lamar Jackson to the Carolina Panthers. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens would receive 2 first rounders. Okay, 2023 and 2024. they would receive 2 second-rounders, both of them in 2023. Okay, so Baltimore would get 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and a player. And let me show you the player. No other than edge rusher Brian Burns. Now, Brian Burns was offered, Carolina Panthers was offered 2 first-round and some second-round picks last year at the trade deadline. What I mean by 2 firsts and some seconds, I mean they were offering 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns, and the Carolina Panthers did not let him go. Okay, but Brian Burns is a free agent who will certainly be franchise tagged on tomorrow. And so while they work out a new deal, the Baltimore Ravens are also in the same scenario with Lamar Jackson working out a new deal, right? So when you take the draft capital, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and you add Brian Burns, the deal must get done. Now let me explain why this is the best deal of them all. Let me do why they do the deal, and then I'm explain. The Carolina Panthers get the Carolina Panthers have been seeking for a quarterback since Cam Newton left about 6 years ago, and they have yet to do that. They've traded several picks to get Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. They've tried PJ Walker. They drafted a guy last year in Matt Carroll, and none of these guys have worked. Lamar Jackson will be a franchise quarterback, come in right away and make them a playoff contender, if not a title contender. Okay, and I'm gonna explain that in a minute. The Ravens will get the 2 first-round picks, uh, 2 second-round picks, and they would get Brian Burns. Why is Brian Burns so integral to this trade? Simply because the Baltimore Ravens have been trying to find a top-notch edge rusher, whether it was draft pick after draft pick after draft pick, whether it was Matt Judon, Zadarius Smith, Odafe, uh, David Ajabo, Justin Houston, whoever else they tried, and nobody has been able to get it done. Brian Burns is a flat out stud. He has shown year after year after year to be able to bend the edge. He's mostly healthy. He rarely misses a game. He has speed, he has power, and when he gets to the quarterback, he finishes the job. Brian Burns would give the Baltimore Ravens a no doubt stud at the edge rush position, and you could put anybody on the other end. Brian Burns is the type of player that would have to make teams double him, which then frees up guys all along the defensive line, and put his counterpart on the other side of the field um, in single coverage. He's so dynamic. He would make pass coverage a little to a lot easier, simply because quarterbacks will have to get rid of the ball quicker instead of having a lot of time to throw the ball. Brian Burns makes this trade work. Why? Because the Carolina Panthers are going to have to sign Brian Burns to about a 5-year, $105 million, which brings him in at about $21 million. Brian Burns is the best young pass rusher in the league at only 25 years old. If they franchise Brian Burns and they franchise Lamar Jackson, include both of them in the trade, you make the pick swap between draft picks and players, and the deal gets done. This is the best trade because you have a proven commodity at the edge rush position, and you're not going to get that in the first round of this draft. You're not going to get it in the second round of this draft. Heck, you might not get it over the next 3 or 4 years. And just like Carolina has been searching for a quarterback for 5 or 6 years, the Baltimore Ravens have been searching for a pass rusher maybe longer than that. So when you get this deal done, Baltimore will have 2 firsts, Carolina's and their own this year. That's certainly give them an ability to pick a quarterback at the number 9 spot, and give them another pick, where they can pick, a cornerback or whatever they need, and that gives them 2 second-round picks this year that they do not have to trade back with their first-round pick to get, because they don't have a second-round pick this year because they traded those picks away for Roquan Smith. So this allows the Baltimore Ravens to have 4 picks along with their own 4 picks in the top 60. That's certainly a way to rebuild a team quickly, and you get Brian Burns, and you get a pick in next year's draft. Carolina will certainly be happy to give that up for one Lamar Jackson. Now, why would I send Lamar to the Carolina Panthers? Well, here's why. The Carolina Panthers has a good offensive line in place already. They have a young stud at left tackle. They have a nice addition at left guard and uh Christensen. They had Brett they had Bozeman last year, who they may be able to resign for a pretty decent contract. They have Corbett at right guard, and then they have a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle and Tyler Moton. So the offensive line is already set. The Carolina Panthers was the number one rushing team from week 8 to the end of the season last year. And we know that if they're already the number one rushing offense, what does Lamar Jackson do to that offense when it comes to the rushing game? It makes defenses pay attention even more to the run game, which brings guys down in the box. Well, when you bring guys down in the box, what does Lamar have at the wide receiver position? The Carolina Panthers already have a proven number one in DJ Moore. DJ Moore was a quarterback who called for 3,000-yard seasons with bums at quarterback. That's absolute truth. And so if he could go for 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with bums at quarterback, what will he be able to do with a guy who forces defenses to come down into the box? And so he's always in single cover. They have a nice secondary piece in Terrence Marshall, a 6'3" guy who can run sub 4.4. They have a nice little slot who's still developing in Shot Smith. They have Lavisk at the as like a big slot, multi-purpose receiver, and they still will have some draft capital to go out and continue to add pieces at all positions of need. Now, giving up Brian Burns makes the defense a little weak, but because you can still build some depth, and that Carolina Panthers defense is young, you can still continue to build, and having a offense that stays on the field makes that defense even better. They were already getting better, playing hard, playing tough, playing good ball, and so having an offense that can keep the ball moving down the field makes that defense better. That's why you send Lamar Jackson to the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, all the other teams are still trying to figure out what they're doing on defense. Carolina already knows. All the other teams need to build off an offensive line. Carolina already has one. And plus, and they proved that with the number one run game last year. And Carolina has a new coach who is really gifted in Frank Wright at offensive schemes. You saw what he did for Wentz out in Philadelphia, help them get to a Super Bowl, and I believe he can do the same thing for Lamar Jackson. And so that's why I was sending to Carolina, and that's why this is the best trade for the Baltimore Ravens, because you're able to get some draft capital and a stud at the defensive end position, edge rush position. Listen, I'm your guy, Boulanger. Let me know whatever you want me to know about this trade. Ravens Nation, I want you guys to stand up. Let me know what you think about being able to get Brian Burns in exchange for Lamar Jackson. If we have to trade Lamar, what do you think? What do you guys think about getting Brian Burns and some first round picks for Lamar Jackson? Because getting Brian Burns is like getting 2 first round picks, because that's what his value was last year at the trade deadline. So really, that trade would look like 4 first rounders, 2 second rounders. So listen, thank you guys, man. I'll check you guys out next week. Uh, I won't be responding to comments and things like that until I get back in town next Monday. So I'm not ignoring you guys. So, but please comment. Please submit please submit your own trades. I'd love to check them out and correspond with you. So again, I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.